them and they get printed out. Is that what we did? Oh my God.
So what is a frame? It's the way that a story is told, the way that it's told. It's selective use of values, symbols, metaphors, messengers.
Introduce people to the meaning of framing, the power of the idea.
The only expectations certainly I have are that people feel that they're in a safe space to have candid and frank and open conversations.
We can advance the conversation and use the idea of frame to navigate our way through conversations about race and difference. The goal of a school like ours is to teach people about how frame matters.
I think the skill that community organizers bring to this kind of work is teaching people how to construct frames that are actually informed by structural inequities.
So what happens is in a conversation of just be down a framework, and it sounds too simplistic now in the world we live in, because it appears to be just back to the black-white paradigm, which is still relevant, but it's not all there is anymore.
I see our jobs as faculty to try to open up the students' sort of aperture on their lens, not to give them a lens, but to open the aperture.
How do I teach and deal with these issues of diversity and minority status on one hand, and teach agency and responsibility no matter what your circumstances on the other, and how do I deal with that complexity?
Responsibility of the educator, the faculty person, is not necessarily to get the students to buy into your position or to figure out what the value neutral position is, but to objectively as possible provide the variation in perspectives or frames or theories on a particular issue and allow the students to come to their own realization.
I mean, here I was talking to a UCLA student last night that they have a critical race theory class, and at NYU I took the Undoing Racism seminar. What if classes like that were required of everyone?
We should implement this critical race theory class.
I really am interested in the critical race class work that you guys have going on.
If the students want to do it, we should support them.
This is not a democratic process. If we had a democracy and we asked staff if they wanted to become an anti-racist organization, it would have never happened.
I feel like racism is rampant. I feel that that now we just pretend better, but nothing else has changed.
We're bringing up a lot of problems, and then it was the questions of, well, how do we start to address these? And we know that it's hard to bring up, and it makes people feel uncomfortable. And is it okay to make people feel uncomfortable? Do they need to feel uncomfortable?
And this notion of, I'm sorry if it comes out the wrong way, let it come out the wrong way.
And how does that fact that we have a African-American president, how does that change the dialogue or the potential for a dialogue about race in academia?
Maybe Obama's election was actually the worst thing that could have happened because it lets all the conservatives off the hook.
He could perform race in a way that gave enough comfort and enough abstract commitment to a post-racial society that led people to be willing to vote for him, notwithstanding the fact he was black.
Obama is like my grandson, right? He has a white mother and a black father, but it doesn't change the experience of my grandson.
Could this be a threshold moment? So will Obama's success or failure or, the perception of that either move us forward or set us back?
As a woman of color, I have to think about race and gender all the time and class. And so to me, her admitting that as a white woman, she doesn't have to bring that into the conversation was more powerful than the bullshit of curriculum and, oh, it's just the way it is. I had to go up to her and challenge her. She came to this aha moment, which was amazing, and she told me that's going to change the way I teach next year.
I'm from Los Angeles, and I know how diverse it is. Unfortunately, very little of that in terms of the complexities and the realities that communities in LA face are brought up in the graduate school.
As a white woman who is working in the field of urban planning, it's really important to me that my field doesn't perpetuate white supremacy or structural racism. What I've experienced in this field so far is that by not talking about it actually is harmful.
So I think more outwardly, I think that could be a starting step. I mean, I guess you can't solve everything, but it could be a way to start the conversation.
We're not going to solve these problems for our schools today. This is the start of a conversation.
I get a journal from a young white male, and I think to myself, I think what he's struggling with is being apologetic about his white privilege. But the anxiety that it triggers in me is, can I have that conversation with him?
You're an individual. You have authentic experiences. Say it as you see it.
To take the risk, to put that in a note, and have an invitation to say, so why don't you come in and let's talk about that.
That's the privilege that all of us have in this country, to have very honest discussions without making other people afraid or guilty about how it comes out.
Right. The risk is, once he's in the room, is he looking for a solution? Is he thinking that I'm calling him out about his privilege? Or can I ride the wave of what that conversation may or may not produce?